I think you did, Silly Wabbit.
Yeah.
I think you
Mr.
did.
Glad you're with us. All right. I've got 7:01, so if you could, we'll try to get started. I'm sure we'll have some people coming in and out, may get knocked off and have to join back up. We're going to attempt to keep everyone muted unless you're recognized. So if you're recognized, give us just a second or two for it to change over and get the volume going for you. Now, when we vote, we're going to try to unmute everyone on the vote. When we vote, we're going to do a roll call. Miss Rita will call your name, then you will state your name and your vote, yes or no. At the end of all the voting, I will ask if there's anyone that would like to change their vote. Yes, thank you. Change their vote or restate their vote. If you're afraid that we didn't get it, didn't hear it, whatever, we'll give you an opportunity to make sure that your vote was what you wanted it to be. That being said, and if you want to get our attention, you need to raise the little hand signal on your computer, and that will flag it, or just do this, go crazy, and we'll see you and try to make sure that you get recognized. Now, if I have several, I'll probably go with who I see first. Please don't get offended if I name you and miss somebody else. I'm trying to look at right now over 50 people on 2 screens to try to keep this straight. So I think if we work together on this, we can be all right. I'd like to call this meeting to order. If there's no further questions, and our first order of business would be our invocation. And we'd like for Commissioner Steve Whitaker to do that for us, if I can find him. There you go. There you go.
God, our Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord, for another day. Heavenly Father, we ask you to grant us wisdom to make good and wise decisions concerning the residents of this great town of ours. Heavenly Father, we ask you to guide us by your grace for our hand of healing across this great nation of ours as we battle the crisis of this coronavirus. Heavenly Father, now after we've done everything that we know to do tonight, please return us and help us to live a godly life. And when we leave this meeting, please do not dismiss us from your presence. In the name of Jesus Christ, we ask it. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. Next order would be the pledge to the American flag. Ms. Russell, would you lead us in that, please?
I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United
States of America,
and to the republic
for which it stands, one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
with liberty,
with liberty
justice
and justice
for
for
all.
all.
Amen. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Miss Rita, would you call the roll, please?
Beverly Atwood,
Here.
Mary Ann Baker,
Here.
Ken Buckmaster,
Here.
Shane Burton,
Here.
Gary Clarity,
Here.
Coy Dickey,
He's trying to connect. It says connecting to audio.
County, we can go on.
Go ahead.
Bill Ferguson. Bill Ferguson.
Here.
Jerry Ford.
Here.
Bubba Gregory.
Here.
Landon Gully.
Here.
Richard Harsh.
Here.
White Jewel.
Here.
Linda Johnson,
Here.
Richard Johnson,
Here.
Rachel Jones,
Here.
David Nollner,
Here.
Amber Russell,
Here.
Grace Thomas,
Here.
Gary Walsh,
Here.
Steve Whitaker,
Here.
Cameron Carr,
Here.
all 20 present.
All present and accounted for. Our next item on our agenda would be the approval of the minutes of the February 24th commission meeting and the April 7th special call meeting. They've been distributed. Are there any corrections, additions, or deletions to those minutes? Any corrections? To have a motion to approve them? Mr. Ford makes the motion. Mr. Noller, I've got a second from you. I have a motion by Mr. Ford and a second by Mr. Noller. On this, let's just do a voice vote on this, I think, Rita. All in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
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 Any noes? Looks like the ayes have it. Move on to announcements. I don't have any announcements. Mayor, do you have any announcements?
Sir,
No announcements. Amy, did you have any announcements?
I know of nothing.
Okay. Okay, we'll move on. Any commissioners have anything you'd like to announce? Okay. I appreciate the ones that are doing this. That's very helpful. So, believe it or not, it's hard to look at 50 people at once. Okay, we'll move on to the agenda. You've had the agenda. We went over it the other night. Are there any additions, deletions, or amendments to the agenda? Okay, Mary Ann. Excuse me, just a second. Go ahead.
Make a motion to approve it.
Okay. Did I miss anybody? Let me back up here.
I think Mr. Ford is making,
Yes,
He's
I
moving.
see you, Ms. Ford. Okay. Had too many people raising their hand at once.
And Mr. Harsh.
Okay. Marianne, I want everybody to be able to see what they're wanting to do. Mr. Ford, you're up next, I believe.
Motion to remove from the agenda on the vote of the fire chief tonight. I'd like that to be stricken from the agenda and be put off until we can have an assembly meeting. I just don't think it's right to do that tonight. There's too many people out there that's wanting to address this and then under the circumstances cannot. So I'm asking the commission to remove from the agenda the vote on the fire chief out of this session.
Okay, so your motion is to amend the agenda to move that one appointment or all?
One appointment or all of them?
Just that one.
Okay. Okay. All right. All right, I had a motion on the floor to approve the agenda. I didn't see this one. Mr. Beller, I'm going to have to ask how I should proceed on this. I've got basically two conflicting motions. Can you,
I didn't hear a second. All I heard was Miss Baker's motion to approve the agenda,
right?
and I never heard I'm sure someone seconded it. And then I can't see anything or hear anything. It's
Okay, I haven't heard a second to either one yet. I'd ask her to wait until we made sure I had 4 people's hands go up at one time. And I was trying to make sure I recognized everyone. I've got 2 people with raised hands now. Mr. Ford. I
And I couldn't get your attention.
I've got 3 raised hands. Trying to figure out who is raising their hand.
Richard Harsh, Coy Dickey, and Mary Ann Baker.
Okay, Mary Ann.
Meeting, Mr. Cross, I think was his name. He was there. He talked to the whole county commission about this whole interview process. He asked if we had any questions. No commissioner said they did. So I just don't understand why we're wanting to put it off. We had the opportunity at the last meeting to ask any questions if we had them. No one had any questions. So why not move forward?
On the motion to amend the agenda, since that's what we're on, is there a second to that motion?
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Ferguson was waving his hand.
Okay. Mr. Ferguson, you are recognized. You keep moving around on me.
Oh, can you hear me?
I see you, yes.
Okay, I'd like to second the motion that Mr. Ford had made to postpone this to a regular meeting. I have people in my district that would like to speak to this topic, and they have not had a chance to do so. The meeting that we had to start with was simply to go over some of the process that took place in the evaluation of the candidates. We did not have that to a vote, and tonight it's been considered to be to a vote, but I'd like to move that to a meeting where people in the public, especially in my district, I don't think I'm the only one that has people in my district that want to speak to this issue. I think it would be better forum for us to have this in a public meeting like we normally have.
Okay.
I would like to second that motion that Mr. Ford made.
If we do have this motion and second to amend the agenda, to move this, postpone it till next month's meeting, if we meet in person at that time, I think we just vote on this. If we vote positive to amend the agenda, we'll take it off and move it to next month. If you want to leave it on tonight, you're going to vote no to the amendment. So we're going to vote first on this amendment. Everybody clear? A yes vote will take it off. A no vote will leave it on. Okay, Rita, whenever you're ready, we're voting on the motion to amend the agenda on this one item, this one appointment, moving it to next month. Whenever you're ready, Miss Rita.
Beverly Atwood,
No.
Mary Ann Baker,
No.
Ken Buckmaster,
Abstain.
Shane Burton,
Yes.
Gary Clarity,
Yes.
Coy Dickey,
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
yeah.
Okay, thank you. Make sure.
You vote yes or no?
Yes.
Bill Ferguson,
Yes.
Jerry Ford,
Yes.
Bubba Gregory,
No.
Landon Gully,
Yes.
Richard Harsh,
Yes.
Dwight Jewell,
No.
Linda Johnson,
Yes.
Richard Johnson,
No.
Rachel Jones,
Yes.
David Nallner,
Yes.
Amber Russell,
Yes.
Grace Thomas,
I want to leave it on.
Then you vote no.
Okay. I didn't understand when you were explaining. I thought yes meant it stayed on or no meant it left. So I wanted you to know what I wanted.
Gary Walsh,
Yes.
Steve Whitaker,
Yes.
Cameron Carr,
Yes.
had 13 yes, 6 no, and 1 abstention.
Okay. So we will move this to next month's meeting. Are there any other amendments to the agenda or anything that needs to be added or deleted from the agenda? Any other? Ms. Baker, I will take your motion to set the agenda if it's still good.
Sure.
Okay. Do I have a second? Mr. Richard Harsh, I believe, got the second. All in favor of approving the agenda as amended, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, our agenda is set. Item 8 on our agenda is a citizen's response to the agenda items. I have had one person to contact us that would like to speak to one of the things tonight, and that's Jason Evans is going to talk to us about the Apraxa awareness resolution. So I have him down. Is there any of our other guests that need to speak to anything tonight that's on our agenda? Does any of the commissioners know of anyone that's with us that needs to speak to any of the items on the agenda? Don't see any, so we'll move on.
Beverly's raising her hand.
Who is? I'm sorry.
Beverly?
Miss Atwood. Miss Atwood.
No, I don't know how it raised my hand.
Okay. All right. County Mayor's report. Mayor Chambers, you're up.
The landfill, it was delayed due to rain at the site, and that made the access road very muddy, and there was huge ruts in the road, so that prevented access to the site at the request of the Tennessee Department of Environment Conservation. The contractor has removed their equipment from the site. We do have until May 31st to get that completed, and they expect to be on the site soon to complete that. They think it'll take about a week roughly. They got to finish up some of the storm drains, some of the drainage ditches, and then correct or fix the access road, and that should be the only major projects remaining at the landfill site. The streetscape is proceeding. If you've been downtown, you see they've poured some of the sidewalks, and hopefully that'll be completed within the next few weeks before we get halfway through May. Hopefully that'll be completed, but again, that'll be up to weather and some other conditions. The COVID-19 update, if you've seen some of the governor's press conferences and whatnot, you know the restaurants were able to reopen today if they followed some of the requirements from the governor's office. So there were some regulations put in place by the governor's office, and those do override any local ordinance. For the 89 counties that do not have their own local health department, excuse me, for the 89 counties that do have their own do not have a local health department that is under the state, the governor's orders will control in those 89 counties. And right now, the only things the governor has allowed to open would be restaurants could reopen today and retail establishments on Wednesday. For churches, gyms, and medical procedures, he was supposed to release some more regulations about opening that this week. I don't believe he did so today. I was not able to watch all of his media briefing, but those should come out sometime this week. For salons and other close contact businesses, those will be in phase 2, and no details have been released for phase 2 as of yet. For the administration building, I had spoke on the radio last Friday, and I talked about looking at opening administration building on May the 4th. Given the spike that came in the state's numbers this last weekend, plus the spike we've had in my county numbers, I talked to some of the local officials here in the building, as well as looking at those numbers. And we feel we're going to extend the closing of the administration building one more week. So the week of May the 4th, we will still remain closed. And we will look at reopening on May the 11th, but we will keep track of data and see if that will be possible at that time. I did receive, there is a news article that was posted on WKRN probably about an hour and a half ago or an hour ago regarding the Trousdale Turner Correctional Complex. It was confirmed that they have 88 inmates that have tested positive for COVID-19. 233 inmates were tested, 143 tested negative, and 2 tests were still pending. Again, that is as being reported by WKRN. So I just wanted to bring those numbers to light. They are not in the current county's numbers as far as I'm aware. We only had 48. And so I would imagine that those may be attributed to the county in tomorrow's report. So we're going to see our numbers go up dramatically. I did have a conversation with a representative from Core Civic today, and he's going to get me in contact with the new warden at Trousdale Turner, and he, myself, and Director Beatty are going to have a conversation, mainly planning that if we do have an escalation there and we need to transport out numerous inmates, how is that going to be cooperated? Is that going to be through the State Department of Correction? Is that going to be through the Department of Health? Or is that going to be mainly a local effort coordinating with mutual aid? So we hope to have that discussion here shortly, and I'll report back to the commission when we have more information on that. As you may have seen, is reported in the newspaper, and I spoke about it last week at the work session. We were accepted into the Tennessee Downtowns program. That is a rural downtown revitalization program. It's a 2-year training program for a steering committee that has already been put in place. It's a 5-member committee, and they will go through this training program that has best practices for reviving rural downtowns. And then we will try to work with that committee and other organizations to try to put in place some of those best practices as we move forward. I'm sure as everyone's aware by now, News Channel 5 did a piece on their new Time to Smile section that they did on their website, on their news program. They came out and did an interview with Mark Presley and talked about everything he had done in the community and the efforts he had taken at Foodland in regards to COVID-19, the curbside delivery of groceries and coordinating that. And I think that was a very good piece. I've heard from people in other communities that they really like that piece. So just want to thank Mr. Presley for everything he's done. And I'm hopeful that when this is all over, we can do something that's better representative of our appreciation for all his efforts. But I think that'll be better till we can all be in person. That's all I have right now, Mr. Chairman. If I can answer any questions, if anyone has anything.
Anyone have a question for the mayor? Ken Buckmaster?
Yes, sir. As I was coming through town today, I noticed a lot of sidewalks had been poured that maybe aren't around businesses that are open or maybe not traveled, but I did notice a couple of businesses that are going to be open or soon be open that look to be last on the list. I wondered if they could, somebody could maybe speak to the contractor, if there's a way to get the ones poured around the, look like Total Image and Dillahays had been pretty much left out while they're pouring the other ones that don't have any business or even empty buildings.
I've spoken to the contractor about the sidewalk in front of Dilla Hayes, and they were supposed to do that soon. There was an issue on the other side of the road. They were pouring over where the parking lot is on the north side of the road, and there was an issue there that delayed pouring that. But I did speak to them. Hopefully, they will be pouring that sidewalk in front of Dilla Hayes and down that south side of the street very soon. Are there any other questions?
Anyone else? Okay. We'll move on. Like I said, committee reports, please just send in a written committee report. And we will share those with everyone as we receive them. I think it'd be too lengthy to try to put those on tonight. There really wasn't that many. The only one I will mention was budget and finance did meet, and all of the budget resolutions that we have tonight were passed affirmatively. Move on to, were there anything on any of the committees that of note that needed to be mentioned? Stephen?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I sent out an email earlier today where we did receive that, I guess, the bond issue quote from the Tennessee Municipal Bond Fund for funding the roof at the middle school. We did ask for two different amounts on that. The first one would not include the architecture fees, and the second one did. The amount without the architecture fees is $989,873. And the amount with architecture fees is $1,049,170. We asked for a quote on either 10 or 12-year terms. And the 10-year term without the architecture fees is $1,150,500.20. And that has an interest rate of 2.83%. The next amount for without the architecture fees at 12 years, the total amount giving principal and interest that would be paid at the end of 10 years is $1,190,172.44. And that one has an interest rate of 2.96%. If you include the architecture fees, the 10-year quote, principal and interest together was $1,219,371.02. Again, that is at a 2.83% interest rate. And the 12-year, including architecture fees, is $1,261,347.84. And then that one is at 2.96% interest rate. And I would ask if we want to consider scheduling or putting a hearing of this on our May 4th when we're doing the budget hearing, or if you would like to do that as a special hearing, then also ask if the commission wants to set a special commission meeting to vote on this before you get to the end of the month.
Well, I had planned for us to put it on our May 4th meeting.
Okay.
That was my intention. That was the quickest we could get it, get the word out to everyone, and we already had that meeting scheduled. We can't really call a meeting any quicker than that. So we'll include it on our May 4th meeting, if that's okay. Okay, anything else on committee reports of pertinence? Don't see anything else.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir, I'm sorry.
Do you want to schedule do we want to call a special commission meeting to vote on that if it makes it through budget and finance, or do we just want to put that to the end of the month?
I think we can make it the end of the month. I mean, that's only 3 weeks beyond that meeting. And that is assuming that we vote one way or the other at the May 4th meeting. There may be something come out that you need more information or something.
Okay.
Will that meet our timeline?
I'll have to defer to Dr. Satterfield and I'm sorry, the gentleman from the architecture firm. I forgot your name. I know I've met you 2 or 3 times. I'm drawing a blank.
John Chang.
I can't remember, and I didn't go back and watch the video, but I couldn't remember exactly what they said. I think said there was a 2-week delay from the time that the contractor was told that they had it till they thought they would start construction, but I'll defer to them on that question because I don't remember exactly what their timeline they stated was.
Chairman Jewell, if I may, I think John Chaney is on with us,
He
and
is.
maybe he can speak to that.
Good evening, everybody. This is John Chaney with Cope Architects. We have requested that the contractors, that would be the earliest that they could start. There's probably a 2-week period to get contracts, bonds, and insurance signed and executed after the commission gives their final approval. So it would be at a minimum of 2 weeks, and then they need to order material and things of that nature before they actually get on site. So probably 3 to 4 weeks before actual work takes place.
Right.
The bids, we have requested that the contractors honor their bid for 45 days, and that from the bid opening, that puts it at the end of May. So the meeting that you have scheduled at the end of the month would fall within that 45 days.
That was my thinking. I just wanted to make sure that we were okay with our time frame.
Now, if something happened at that commission meeting and it did not get approved, there's only 3 or 4 days beyond that meeting. So the contractor could, on their accord, hold their bids beyond that, but they wouldn't be contractually obligated to do so.
Well, we've got 3 budget and finance meetings scheduled prior to that, plus a work session. So we should be able to have this, I think, pretty well resolved, or know where we're going or which direction we're going to take. 12 of the 20 members are on Budget and Finance Committee. So if it passed with all the members there, that would make you think that it would pass the full commission. Sometimes y'all throw me a curve, and doesn't. Mr. Buckmaster?
The rates were good through Friday, May 1st. Is that so? Is there going to be a change?
That's my biggest concern.
I'm going to reach out to them again and ask them if they could get us something next time that has a little bit longer time on it. I did not know when it came in that it was only going to be 7 days. We saw it when it came in last Friday, and I haven't been able to reach out to them yet, but I'm going to ask them if we can get something a little bit longer timeline on that, because I'm going to reach out to them and tell them we need something longer than 7 days, because just giving notice and having a meeting, we can't do that in 7 days.
Well, I think from our past conversations with them, they tend to work on a calendar month. If they give you, it's good through that calendar month. Maybe I'm remembering wrong, but I think that was why it was ending at the end of this month. But we certainly, until we had those numbers, there was no way that we could vote on it. There's no way we can vote on it now. So I think we just need to move on and bring this up in the Budget and Finance meeting on the 4th, if that's okay with everyone.
I will say at the work session, I gave out the then interest rate of 0.32%. It has went down since then. It's now 0.21%. So hopefully that'll drop the interest rate a little bit.
I think it would be a good time for us to be doing this bond issue if that's the way we want to address this. Okay, acknowledgements. We'll move into our acknowledgements without objection. Okay, I don't see any. First is our Mayor, you want to explain most of these, review the debt management policy, what that is, why we're doing that?
Yes, sir. The debt management policy is required to be reviewed every year. It just talks about how we're going to service our debt and manage our debt. We've had the same policy in place since September of 2012. I don't think we'll need any changes this year. It does go over, if you want to service your debt, the role of different consultants that can be hired, whether it's a fiscal agent or somebody to come in and do be a financial advisor or underwriter or anything like that. It talks about conflicts of interest issues. If anybody's a professional dealing with the debt, that they have to disclose any potential conflict of interest. But additional requirements for debt goes over requirement if there's any leases, the county attorney has to sign off on it prior to execution of the lease. Goes through borrowing of capital outlay notes, does have a provision for amendment of the policy. All these are same as they were since 2012. If anybody has any issues, we can go through it and address it individually.
See none. The next one would be the 3-star program fiscal confirmation letter. You've got a copy of that in your packet. It's just one of the requirements for the 3-star program that we have to spread this on our minutes and acknowledgement of this being submitted. Is that correct, Mayor?
Yes, sir. It's a requirement of the 3-star program. It just says that we've done the fiscal duties of the county and we are certifying that we've done that, and it'll just be it's basically part of the required program.
Okay, the next one is a mayoral proclamation as a Praxa Awareness Day. You want to explain that, and then I think Mr. Jason Evans wanted to speak to that as well. So
Okay. Yes, I was contacted by Mr. Evans and his wife, and Mr. Evans spoke to me as well. This is a recognition or proclamation letting the county know of childhood apraxia, which is a speech condition for children that have difficulty learning to speak. It is a severe issue, and the children have to go through speech therapy and those kind of issues. But Mr. Evans is well more versed in that than I, so I will turn it over to him at this time if he would like to say something, speak on this proclamation.
Yes, I just want to thank the county and Mayor Chambers and the commission for doing this. Is our daughter Blair. We realized, I don't know, about 2 years ago that she was delayed in speech. Didn't know. I give my wife credit being a kindergarten teacher and her training in early childhood development. She recognized it more so than I did. Common words, yes and no, and mom, dad, she could say those, but as her vocabulary would progress, she had much more difficulty. In childhood apraxia, it's not that the children doesn't know. They hear well, they hear fine, they know what they want to say, but it's the connection from the brain into the muscles is the way that the speech folks told us is to make them learn how to speak. And so they have issues. And so there's Miss Blair. And so they have issues being able to process. And so it's a muscle memory thing. So it's repetitive for them to learn how to speak because and so those real common words that she said, from day one, that she said repeatedly and over, she didn't have trouble with. And so when they contacted us is because my wife spent a lot of time trying to learn about it, because we could help at home. One of the associations sent us because they want more children and more parents to be aware that it could be an issue. Because when we would go to the doctor, because she could say the common things and she was shy and she wouldn't talk at the doctor, and they would ask us what she says, does she communicate? And she would, but she kept asking, can y'all test her for speech? And so they recommended us to get her tested. And once they tested her, that's when we found out that it was apraxia of speech. And so that's one of the things that we just wanted more people to know. And that's what the Apraxia Awareness Association, that's what they want more people to know. Because one of the folks that, one of the things on their spokesperson on there is Ronda Rousey, the UFC fighter, and she was a wrestler as well. She suffered from childhood apraxia. And so early childhood intervention is one of the most critical things with apraxia of speech. And so we've seen a tremendous amount of improvement. And now she's going to be starting, she turns 5 tomorrow. So she'll be starting kindergarten next year, and she's on pace to start with kindergarten, and, without any speech delays. She's caught up and everything is on task for a normal 5-year-old. But it was because that we were able to identify it early, and we want other parents to be aware of the situation. So thank y'all for doing this.
Thank you. Okay, our next one is certificate of compliance from Hartsel Liquor. Mr. Roddy, we have to acknowledge in our minutes that we have received that from them. So that's all the acknowledgements. That's not anything we have to vote on. They will be spread on the minutes that we have had them in our meeting and acknowledge their existence. Next, we'll move to appointments. We have remaining Judicial Commissioner reappointment, Mr. David Brown, Animal Shelter Board. Three were reappointments and 2 new appointments. Debbie Jenkins, Teresa Turner, Linda Sue Johnson, Mark Presley, and who was the 5th one?
Jenny Hunter.
Jenny Hunter. I'm sorry, Jenny Hunter. Couldn't read my writing. Board of Zoning Appeals was for a 4-year term. This was a term Mr. Robert Thurman decided not to continue on. So Mr. Mark Presley has agreed to take that position. And the Planning Commission, we have 2 reappointments, Johnny Kerr and Rhonda Kiesling. These were all appointments and recommendations from the mayor. Entertain a motion to accept them all. I have Mr. Noller making a motion. Mr. Buckmaster, I believe, caught the second. Okay, on these appointments, I believe we can do these by voice vote. All in favor of these appointments, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any no votes? Any no votes? Anyone like to change their vote? Looks as if it does carry. Okay. Moving on. Have several resolutions tonight, and these we will need to vote on by roll call vote individually on all of these, so this may take a moment. Our first resolution of the night is Resolution 2020-07682. This is on the county employee 401k participation agreement. Have a motion from Mr. Buckmaster. Do I have a second? Second by Ms. Jones. Have a motion to approve this by Commissioner Buckmaster and a second by Commissioner Jones. Is there any discussion? Mr. Gully. Mr. Gully, do you need to be recognized? Okay. Okay. Any discussion? See none. Ms. Rita, call the roll.
Beverly Atwood,
Yes.
Mary Ann Baker,
Yes.
Ken Buckmaster,
Yes.
Jane Burton,
Yes.
Gary Clarity,
Yes.
Coy Dickey,
Yes.
Bill Ferguson,
Yes.
Jerry Ford,
Yes.
Bubba Gregory,
Yes.
Landon Gully,
Landon Gully, yes.
Richard Harsh,
Richard Harsh, yes.
White Jewel,
White Jewel, yes.
Linda Johnson,
Linda Johnson, yes.
Richard Johnson,
Richard Johnson, yes.
Rachel Jones,
Rachel Jones, yes.
David Nollner,
David Noller, yes.
Amber Russell,
Amber Russell, yes.
Grace Thomas,
Grace Thomas, yes.
Gary Walsh,
Gary Walsh, yes.
Steve Whitaker,
Steve Whitaker, yes.
Cameron Carr,
Cameron Carr, yes.
20 yes, 0 no.
It is approved. Next resolution is 2020-08-683. This is a participation agreement for county employees on a 457B. What's the will of the body? Mary Ann Baker? Have a motion to approve by Ms. Baker. Do I have a second? Second, Ms. Jones. Rachel Jones gets the second. Is there any discussion on this? Any discussion? I see none. Call the roll, Ms. Rita, when you're ready.
Beverly Atwood,
Yes.
Brianne Baker,
Yes.
Tim Buckmaster,
Tim Buckmaster, yes.
Shane Burton,
Yes.
Gary Clary,
Yes.
Coy Dickey,
Yes.
Bill Ferguson,
Yes.
Jerry Ford,
Yes.
Bubba Gregory,
Yes.
Landon Gully,
Landon Gully, yes.
Richard Harsh,
Richard Harsh, yes.
White Jewel,
White Jewel, yes.
Linda Johnson,
Linda Johnson, yes.
Richard Johnson,
Yes.
Rachel Jones,
Rachel Jones, yes.
David Noller,
David Noner, yes.
Amber Russell,
Amber Russell, yes.
Grace Thomas,
Grace Thomas, yes.
Gary Walsh,
Gary Walsh, yes.
Steve Whitaker,
Steve Whitaker, yes.
Cameron Carr,
Cameron Carr, yes.
20 yes, 0 no.
It does carry. I would remind you, please state your name before your vote because there is an audio recording of this, and if there's any question as to who voted, it would be preferable to have that. Next resolution is 2020-09-684, and that's approval of the county road list. We do this every year. You've had this, not really many changes in it this year. Have a motion by Mr. Harsh to approve. I have a second by Mr. Gregory. A motion by Mr. Harsh and a second by Mr. Gregory to approve the county road list name. Miss Rita, here we go again.
Beverly Atwood,
Lee Atwood, yes.
Mary Ann Baker,
Mary Ann Baker, yes.
Ken Buckmaster,
Ken Buckmaster, yeah.
Shane Burton,
Shane Burton, yes.
Gary Clarity,
Gary Clarity, yes.
Coy Dickey,
Coy Dickey, yes.
Bill Ferguson,
Bill Ferguson, yes.
Jerry Ford,
Jerry Ford, yes.
Bubba Gregory,
Bubba Gregory, yes.
Landon Gully,
Landon Gully, yes.
Richard Harsh,
Richard Harsh, yes.
White Jewel,
White Jewel, yes.
Linda Johnson,
Linda Johnson, yes.
Richard Johnson,
Richard Johnson, yes.
Rachel Jones,
Rachel Jones, yes.
David Noller,
David Allner, yes.
Amber Russell,
Amber Russell, yes.
Grace Thomas,
Grace Thomas, yes.
Gary Walsh,
Gary Walsh, yes.
Steve Whitaker,
Steve Whitaker, yes.
Cameron Carr,
Cameron Carr, yes.
20 yes, 0 no.
It does carry. Okay. Moving on, our next resolution is Resolution 2020-10-685. This is a resolution designating declaring Hartsville-Trousdale County a Second Amendment sanctuary county. I have a motion by Ms. Jones and a second by Mr. Nollner to approve. Got a lot of hands. I'm sorry, guys. First ones I catch is who we have to go with. Okay, we have a motion to approve by Ms. Jones and a second by Mr. Nollner. Okay, call the roll when you're ready, Miss Rita.
Beverly Atwood, Beverly Atwood, Beverly Atwood,
Yes.
yes. Marianne Baker,
Marianne Baker, yes.
Ken Buckmaster,
Ken Buckmaster, yes.
Shane Burton,
Shane Burton, yes.
Gary Clarity,
Gary Clarity, yes.
Coy Dickey,
Coy Dickey, yes.
Bill Ferguson,
Bill Ferguson, yes.
Jerry Ford,
Jerry Ford, yes.
sorry, I didn't hear Jerry's vote. I
Jerry
heard his
Ford.
name, but I didn't hear his.
One more time,
Said
Mr.
a
Ford. One more time, Mr. Ford. Mr. Ford, one more time.
Jerry Ford, yes.
Thank you. Bubba Gregory,
Bubba Gregory, yes.
Landon Gully,
Landon Gully, yes.
Richard Harsh,
Richard Harsh, yes.
Jewel,
White Jewel, yes.
Linda Johnson,
Linda Johnson, yes.
Richard Johnson,
Richard Johnson, yes.
Rachel Jones,
Rachel Jones, yes.
David Nollner,
David Allner, yes.
Amber Russell,
Amber Russell, yes.
Grace Thomas,
Grace Thomas, yes.
Gary Walsh,
Gary Walsh, yes.
Steve Whitaker,
Steve Whitaker, no.
Cameron Carr,
Cameron Carr, yes.
19 yes, 1 no.
Motion does carry. Thank you. Next resolution is 2020-12-687. This is a resolution to increase the local option sales tax in Hartsville-Trousdale County from 2.25% to 2.75%. And this is a resolution requesting the County Election Commission to conduct a referendum on this question on the August 6th, 2020 election. This is a 0.5 cent increase on sales tax, and it would go to a referendum vote for the people to decide. Mr. Burton, you're recognized.
Motion to approve.
Okay. Mr. Clarity? Mr. Clarity has a second?
Yes.
Okay. Have a motion to approve by Mr. Burton and a second by Mr. Clarity. Send this over to the Election Commission, put it on the ballot. Any discussion about this? Any questions about this? Everybody understand what we're doing? See none? Call the roll, Ms. Rita.
Beverly Atwood,
Beverly Atwood, yes.
Mary Ann Baker,
Mary Ann Baker, yes.
Ken Buckmaster,
Ken Buckmaster, yes.
Shane Burton,
Shane Burton, yes.
Gary Clarity,
Gary Clarity, yes.
Coy Dickey,
Coy Dickey, yes.
Bill Ferguson,
Bill Ferguson, yes.
Jerry Ford,
Jerry Ford, yeah.
Bubba Gregory,
Bubba Gregory, yes.
Lyndon Gully,
Landon Gully, yes.
Richard Harsh,
Richard Harsh, yes.
Dwight Jewell,
Dwight Jewell, yes.
Linda Johnson,
Linda Johnson, yes.
Richard Johnson,
Richard Johnson, yes.
Rachel Jones,
Rachel Jones, yes.
David Nollner,
David Nollner, yes.
Amber Russell,
Amber Russell, yes.
Grace Thomas,
Grace Thomas, yes.
Gary Walsh,
Gary Walsh, yes.
Steve Whitaker,
Steve Whitaker, yes.
Cameron Carr,
Cameron Carr, yes.
20 yes, 0 no.
It is approved. Our last resolution is Resolution 2020-13-688. This is a litter grant application. It's a contract between us and Tennessee Department of Transportation. We have to do this every year to be eligible for the litter grant.
Mr. Jewell,
Mr. Buckmaster.
is there a second part to that previous resolution?
I don't know what it would be.
Shows the date that it would take effect if approved in referendum. My packet has it on the back of that first part.
It will take effect at the earliest date it can take effect by law. So this resolution shall take effect according to the county charter. I think the charter spells out when resolutions become effective. Is that what you're asking, or am I missing something?
No, sir, my packet has a second part on the back of it. Be it further resolved, majority of those qualified voting referendum required by TCA code, whatever. Resolution shall take effect according to the Hartsville-Trolley County Charter. For a motion to approve in a second, the roll call vote, is that something that has to take place?
I'm not seeing that on mine. On the back page, the second page, it says that if the referendum is voted in, that it will begin at the earliest date allowed by law. And if it doesn't, then it doesn't become effective. I don't see that on mine.
I'm not disputing. I have a place on mine that says motion to approve, second motion, roll call vote. after the other. I may be wrong. I was just wondering if there was a second part to it or not. If there's not, that's fine.
I don't think so.
Mr. Chairman, there's not a second part. What he's referring to is it is the recording of the votes for the resolution that we've already had. It just looks a little confusing because on the first page of that resolution, there is a space at the bottom. It looks like it would also be for or against, but that's the language that has to be specifically put in the referendum itself.
Yeah,
The second page is just the recording of the vote that took place earlier.
right. Okay, we got it. Okay, let's move on to the litter grant application. Do I have a motion to approve it? Do I, did I, should I? Mr. Gully would like to. Do I have a second? Miss Rachel would like to do a second. So we have a motion by Mr. Gully and a second by Miss Jones to approve the litter grant resolution. Miss Rita, when you're ready.
Beverly Atwood,
Beverly Atwood, yes.
Mary Ann Baker,
Mary Ann Baker, yes.
Ken Buckmaster,
Ken Buckmaster, yes.
Shane Burton,
Shane Burton, yes.
Gary Clarity,
Gary Clarity, yes.
Coy Dickey,
Coy Dickey, yes.
Bill Ferguson,
Bill Ferguson, yes.
Jerry Ford,
Jerry Ford, yes.
Bubba Gregory,
Bubba Gregory, yes.
Landon Gully,
Landon Gully, yes.
Richard Harsh,
Richard Harsh, yes.
Dwight Jewell,
Why, Jewel, yes.
Linda Johnson,
Linda Johnson, yes.
Richard Johnson,
Richard Johnson, yes.
Rachel Jones,
Rachel Jones, yes.
David Nallner,
David Nallner, yes.
Amber Russell,
Amber Russell, yes.
Grace Thomas,
Grace Thomas, yes.
Gary Walsh,
Gary Walsh, yes.
Steve Whitaker,
Steve Whitaker, yes.
Cameron Carr,
Cameron Carr, yes.
20 yes, 0 no.
It is approved. Okay, we'll move into ordinances. The first ordinance of the night, we have a public hearing and a second reading. This is on ordinance 190-2020-05. This is a rezoning request to change the zoning from C2 to R1 on a lot up on Hilltop Drive, owned by Ms. Hunter. I'd like to open the public hearing. We had no one requesting to speak to this before. Is there anyone now that would like to speak to this rezoning request? Any of our audience like to speak to this? Any of our commissioners like to speak to this? Seeing and hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
Mr. Jewell, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
You have a motion by Ms. Atwood to approve and a second by Mr. Gully. Is that correct? Yes. Okay. Motion by Ms. Atwood and a second by Mr. Gully. Ms. Rita? Oh,
Well, you're gonna close the
we
public
need to,
hearing
yeah, I'm
first?
sorry. We need to close the public hearing. I'm sorry. I got ahead of myself.
So it's Beverly
Is your
Atwood
motion
and
to approve or is your motion, Ms. Atwood, to close the public hearing?
Motion to approve and then a motion to close.
Okay. Have a motion to close the public hearing. Who would like to second that? Okay, Mr. Bubba Gregory, seconds. All in favor of closing the public hearing, please say aye.
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 The public hearing is closed. Now, we have a motion to approve and a second, duly second. So, Ms. Rita, please call the roll.
second again. Made the motion again on that one.
Ms. Atwood made the motion and Mr. Gully made the second. I believe I'm correct on that. Am I correct on that?
Beverly Atwood,
Beverly Atwood, yes.
Mary Ann Baker,
Mary Ann Baker, yes.
Ken Buckmaster,
Ken Buckmaster, yes.
Shane Burton,
Hey, Burton, yes.
Gary Clarity,
Gary Clarity, yes.
Coy Dickey,
Yes.
Bill Ferguson,
Bill Ferguson, yes.
Jerry Ford,
Jerry Ford, yes.
Bubba Gregory,
Bubba Gregory, yes.
Landon Gully,
Landon Gully, yes.
Richard Harsh,
Richard Harsh, yes.
White Jewel,
Dwight Jewell, yes.
Linda Johnson,
Linda Johnson, yes.
Richard Johnson,
Richard Johnson, yes.
Rachel Jones,
Rachel Jones, yes.
David Noner,
David Noner, yes.
Amber Russell,
Amber Russell, yes.
Grace Thomas,
Grace Thomas, yes.
Gary Walsh,
Gary Walsh. Chairman Jewell, can you recognize me after this vote's over? But I vote yes.
Steve Whitaker,
Steve Whitaker, yes.
Cameron Carr,
Cameron Carr, yes.
20 yes, 0 no.
Does carry. Mr. Walsh, you're recognized.
Yeah, I've been trying to hit *9, *9, *6 because I was going to ask, how can we have a public hearing when the public's not here except for on virtual Zoom?
Well, they were
It's
invited.
kind of late now. It's a moot point, but again, I'm over here hitting *9, raising my hand, and *6 unmute and not recognized. Go ahead.
Well, the meeting was announced. We asked for anyone that would like to speak to any of the items on the agenda in the meeting announcements to please let us know ahead of time. The phone-in numbers were put out there for anyone that wanted to come, and we do have some people on here tonight that are not commissioners. They didn't choose to speak to this or anything else. I agree it's not a typical public hearing, but Mr. Beller,
Okay, I guess my
Mr. Beller.
I'm sorry. I guess my main point was that when I hit *9, from not being on a computer on a phone, I was supposed to raise my hand to be recognized, and it didn't happen. So I don't know if we need to fix that, look for something else in the future or what, but I could not be recognized by hitting my *9.
Well, it has been working on some of them. I don't know why it didn't work with you. Mr. Beller,
right.
recognized.
Mr. Walsh, one of the things that, I understand there's technological difficulties at play, but part of the executive order, and correct me if I'm wrong, but once we have this meeting, and obviously it circumvents a portion of the Open Meetings Act, these are to be made available to the public, and I don't have the order right in front of me, but I believe it's within 48 hours.
Mhm.
And we've been doing that. Is that correct, Chairman?
That's correct. And also they can, once they look at it, they can bring up an objection or ask to speak to it at our next regular meeting. It
Correct.
only becomes official if there's no objections to it. If I'm remembering there again, the statute. Mayor, do you have anything you'd like to say on that?
The requirement to post the meeting, I'm actually streaming it on Facebook right now, so I think we would meet that. And also it's actually being streamed on a second feed directly from this Zoom feed to the Hartsville-Trousdale County Government's Facebook page. So I think we're meeting that posting requirement right now, but Yeah, it does have a provision in there about if somebody wants to challenge it, I believe after the meeting, after they see the recording, then it can be done then. I believe, again, I don't have it in front of me, but that sounds like it's in the governor's order.
Chairman Jewell,
Yes, sir.
my main point was I'm not being recognized by hitting *9. Once this explanation was given, I was going to be fine with it. I voted yes. But is that not the same thing we did with the fire chief? Again, my main thing is not so much that it's not no public hearing. It's the fact that I'm hitting *9 as a commissioner and want to speak and not being recognized. But we can move on. We'll address that later.
Thank you, sir. Your point's well taken. Don't know why it's not working. It's been working with other people, and I think it's worked with you. I think I've called on you before when I did see that. So in this instance, I'm not sure why it's not. I really can't answer. We'll move on.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. We have ordinance 191/2020-06. This is first reading on a rezoning ordinance to change a piece of property from A1 to R1. It erroneously said Harris Branch. It's actually on Hawkins Branch. The map reflects the proper parcel number and everything. We just need to change the wording on the title from Harris Branch to Hawkins Branch. But the map and parcel number are correct. Everything else is correct about this. But I did want to point that out to you. And I do recognize Mr. Buckmaster. Sorry.
Approve with the amended address.
Pardon me?
A motion to approve with the amended address.
Having a motion to approve.
Second that motion.
Have a second by Ms. Atwood. Ms. Rita, here we go again. Is there any question about this? Mr. Ferguson, you're recognized.
And that's a property that I purchased recently to try to correct an issue that was kind of messed up to start with and try to make an improvement to the property. So I just wanted to be recognized that there have been some improvements made to it. So we're just trying to put it in the right zoning.
All the property around this is zoned R1. I think this was just an oversight at some point in time in the past. We're just trying to correct the map. Okay, I do have a motion to approve by Mr. Buckmaster, and who had the second? I'm sorry.
Beverly Atwood.
Beverly Atwood, okay. Go, Miss Rita.
Beverly Atwood.
Beverly Atwood, yes.
Mary Ann Baker.
Mary Ann Baker, yes.
Ken Buckmaster.
Ken Buckmaster, yes.
Shane Burton.
Shane Burton, yes.
Gary Clarity.
Gary Clarity, yes.
Coy Dickey.
Coy Dickey, yes.
Bill Ferguson.
Well, in my position as a commissioner, I feel it inappropriate or unethical to vote on something of this nature that would benefit something that I'm working on. So I'm going to abstain.
Jerry Ford.
Jerry Ford, yes.
Bubba Gregory.
Bubba Gregory, yes.
Landon Gully.
Landon Gully, yes.
Richard Harsh.
Richard Harsh, yes.
Dwight Jewell.
Dwight Jewell, yes.
Linda Johnson.
Linda Johnson, yes.
Richard Johnson.
Richard Johnson, yes.
Rachel Jones.
Rachel Jones, yes.
David Nollner.
David Nollner, yes.
Amber Russell.
Amber Russell, yes.
Grace Thomas.
Grace Thomas, yes.
Gary Walsh.
Gary Walsh, yes.
Steve Whitaker.
Steve Whitaker, yes.
Cameron Carr.
Cameron Carr, yes.
19 yes, 0 no, and 1 abstention.
Vote was 19 yes, 1 abstention, 0 no's. It does pass. Next is first reading on ordinance 192, 2020-07. This is rezoning the lot C2 to R1 up on Hilltop. It's right near that other one that we just did. There again, just trying to clean up some issues with our zoning maps. Any questions about this one? Ms. Baker, you're recognized. Sorry.
I wanted to make a motion to approve it.
Okay, have a motion to approve. Do we have a second? Ms. Grace Thomas makes the second. Ms. Rita, when you're ready.
Beverly Atwood,
Beverly Atwood, yes.
Mary Ann Baker,
Mary Ann Baker, yes.
Buckmaster,
Ken Buckmaster, yes.
Shane Burton,
Shane Burton, yes.
Gary Clarity,
Gary Clarity, yes.
Coy Dickey,
Coy Dickey, yes.
Bill Ferguson,
Bill Ferguson, yes.
Jerry Ford,
Gary Ford, yes.
Bubba Gregory,
Bubba Grigger, yes.
Gully,
Landon Gully, yes.
Richard Harsh,
Richard Harsh, yes.
White Jewel,
White Jewel, yes.
Linda Johnson,
Linda Johnson, yes.
Richard Johnson,
Richard Johnson, yes.
Rachel Jones,
Rachel Jones, yes.
David Nollner,
David Nolan, yes.
Amber Russell,
Amber Russell, yes.
Grace Thomas,
Grace Thomas, yes.
Gary Walsh,
Gary Walsh, yes.
Steve Whitaker,
Steve Whitaker, yes.
Cameron Carr,
Cameron Carr, yes.
20 yes, 0 no.
20 yes, 0 no, motion does carry. Okay, that takes care of our ordinances. Move into budget amendments. We have all of these tonight are interfund transfers. They're simply moving money from one fund to another to allocate where it's spent at. The first one is in the 101 General Services Fund, 2020-101-13. This is in the EMA for some grant funding that came in. And also 2020-101-14 is an insurance recovery in the EMA fund. Then in our 141 General Purpose School Fund, there is a motion there on incentive bonuses or to move the money into that line item. Basically is what it's doing. It's an interfund transfer. We can take all three of these together, or we can pull out any one of them that you would wish to vote on. Before we do, I'd like to, is there any questions about any of these? Anyone have a question on any of these? Anyone have a question on any of these? Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve all of them. Have Miss Rachel Jones and a second from Miss Grace Thomas. A motion by Miss Jones and a second by Miss Thomas to approve all of these. Any objection to doing that? Seeing none, hearing none. Miss Rita?
Beverly Atwood,
Beverly Atwood, yes.
Mary Ann Baker,
Mary Ann Baker, yes.
Ken Buckmaster,
Ken Buckmaster, yes.
Shane Burton,
Shane Burton, yes.
Gary Clarity,
Gary Clarity, yes.
Coy Dickey,
Coy Dickey, yes.
Bill Ferguson,
Bill Ferguson, yes.
Jerry Ford,
Gary Ford,
Jerry vote yes. I didn't hear him. I didn't hear
He
Jerry.
voted yes.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Ford voted yes.
Bubba Gregory.
Bubba Gregory, yes.
Thank you. Bubba Gregory.
Yes.
Landon Gully.
Landon Gully, yes.
Richard Harsh.
Richard Harsh. Yes, Richard Harsh.
White Jewel.
White Jewel, yes.
Linda Johnson.
Linda Johnson, yes.
Richard Johnson.
Richard Johnson, yes.
Rachel Jones.
Rachel Jones, yes.
David Nallner.
David Nallner, yes.
Amber Russell.
Amber Russell, yes.
Grace Thomas.
Grace Thomas, yes.
Gary Walsh.
Gary Walsh, yes.
Steve Whitaker. Steve Whitaker.
It showed a while ago that he left the program.
I think he's lost. We've lost him.
Cameron Carr.
Cameron Carr, yes.
19 yes, 0 no, and 1 absent, I guess.
Absent, yeah. Okay. It does carry. Moving on to notaries, we have several notaries tonight. Harvey Bender, Elizabeth Parker Harper, Brianna Garrett, Martha Cowan, Donella Harris, Monica Thomas, Daniel Jenkins, Courtney Crawford, and Dana Thomas. Rita, were there any additional ones?
No, that's all of them.
Okay. Mr. Gully, you're recognized.
I was just making a motion to approve all.
Okay. Have a motion.
Second that
approved.
motion.
Have a second by Mr. Ferguson, I believe. I caught him first. I'm sorry. Going to approve all of them. Anybody have any question about any of these notaries? Speak now. I see no hands. Okay. All in favor of approving the notaries, please say aye.
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 Any noes? I hear no noes. Anyone like to change their vote or restate your vote? Ayes have it. The notaries are approved. Is there any other business? Mayor, do you have anything else for us tonight?
No, sir.
Okay. Our next meeting is scheduled work session on Monday, May 18th. Our commission meeting will be Tuesday, May 26th. We will have budget and finance meetings. We're going to try to have them in person. We will be in the upstairs courtroom. We will practice safe distancing from each other. If you have a mask, we ask that you bring one, and we will try to have everything nice and disinfected. Refrain from shaking hands and hugging each other so that we can try to get through these budget hearings. Now, we've scheduled them starting the 4th, 2 hours. They'll start at 6 o'clock. I think 2 nights probably will get them, 3 nights at most. That's why we've scheduled them that. That'll give us 6 hours. Unless we run into a major snafu, that should be plenty of time to get them done. We'll bring in on Thursday night that week. I guess that's the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. The schools and the sheriff's department, which will be the 2 bigger ones to go over. We're not going to ask all of the different departments and elected officials to come in unless we have a questions about their budget that we can't answer. If we need them to come in, they'll come in on that third night. We'll have them come in if we need to. And the mayor, the first night, will present us the budget. We'll go over it, all facets of it, and we'll look at what questions need to be addressed, and then we'll bring them up at the subsequent meetings. So the first night will be going over it. Any of the commissioners that are not on budget and finance are welcome to come. We'd love to have you there, and we will meet upstairs in the courtroom starting on Monday the 4th. Are there any other announcements? Any other comments? Miss Grace, you recognize.
I make a motion, we adjourned.
Have a motion to adjourn. All in favor? I appreciate all of you. Did a great job tonight. I wasn't sure how long it was going to take us. I know the vote gets cumbersome, but we need to do it that way so we have a record of it. Y'all have a great night, and we look forward to seeing you at the budget meetings. Thanks so much to everyone.
Commissioner Jewell,
Yes, sir.
when y'all need me again, just have Clint, and I'll let Clint know as well, but when y'all need me again, just let me know.
We will. We'll take that up on the 4th meeting, probably the very first part of the meeting before we get into the budget.
And it's my understanding, because I want to be clear, when I talk to the contractor tomorrow, I told him that I would call him, is their representative is, his wife is in the hospital having a baby.
Okay.
Otherwise, he would have been on the meeting tonight.
Okay.
And I told him, I said, I don't think there's any reason for you to be there.
Okay.
Especially under the circumstances with your wife in the hospital with newborn twins. They were born over the weekend, but that's a committee meeting to move it forward to the commission meeting at the end of the month.
Right. And basically that committee will decide which one of those options as far as what length of time.
I got you.
That will be where we will decide if we're going to do 10 years, 12 years with or without fees, or we want to put some into our fund balance into it or whatnot.